This is the Mad Scientist Memo. The Mad Scientist Memo. Here we go.
Welcome back to the Mad Scientist Memo.
I'm your co-host Zahra.
And I'm Shreya.
And picture this. We're sitting in a starry night.
Okay, yes, but not a starry night.
The Starry Night.
The infamous Starry Night by the one and only
Vincent Van Gogh.
Yes.
Who is the artist behind the Starry Night.
Yeah.
And if you haven't heard his name before,
you're hearing it now. It's all right.
Yeah, you're hearing it.
So today what we're going to do is we're going to take a very different aspect that we haven't gone into before.
Correct.
And that is art or art history, right?
Post-impressionistic era art. And an artist from that era, to be precise.
So tell us something about Vincent Van Gogh just to get us going.
That's right. Vincent Van Gogh is a Dutch, like I said, post-impressionistic painter. And he's known for his bold colors and his expressive brushwork. He was born in Netherlands, and from a very early age, he struggled with his identity and mental health. And at some point, he discovered his passion in art. But let's just say his journey wasn't as straightforward and as, filled with roses and violets. He struggled a lot with a lot of things, and he didn't get the recognition he deserved. His paintings only got the recognition they deserved after his time,
Very
his lifetime, which is very unfortunate, because today his name is almost a household. It's just thrown around like, oh, Van Gogh. But
yeah,
he led a very
he spent a lifetime not knowing that.
He led a very sad life, to put it simply. So we're going to do a little bit of introspection and
we're going to
see why he did the things he did, and there's a lot of interesting content in there.
Right. So let's look at some of his most famous paintings, like we already mentioned, the Starry Night and Sunflowers.
Yes.
When we think about them, we think about predominant yellow to an aggressive amount.
Exactly.
Right. We see yellow and then
and
we
even
see
halos.
Yes. We see these halo structures. So there's a very interesting conversation that occurs behind why this could be happening, or these colors are so prominent in that particular time period. And we know that in the time period that Vincent Van Gogh painted these, he was being treated for epilepsy and mania by Dr. Paul Gachet.
All right.
At that time, it was pretty much off the norm to treat it with the plant foxglove, which is basically Digitalis purpura.
Right. Now, Digitalis is a drug, and it works by inhibiting the sodium-potassium ATPase pump. And this enzyme is crucial for maintaining electrical charge in your cells.
Right. And what happens is when you give Digitalis, or rather an overdose of Digitalis, it causes Digitalis toxicity.
Correct. So it disrupts your cone's ability to process signals, and it biases your vision towards the yellow spectrum.
Yeah. So in our retina, the cones that we have, which are responsible for perceiving color vision, they are very sensitive to those sodium potassium ATPase pumps.
So he wasn't just doing it randomly. That was his representation of how he saw the world. Right.
Yeah. So it's sort of like he was documenting a refractive error caused by this fluid retention in his retina, or at least that is one argument that is being made right now scientifically, right? He was painting this medical reality of his with absolute precision, if not anything.
Right. So moving ahead, another thing very characteristic of his paintings is like turbulence. Because Starry Night isn't just yellow. There's a lot of movement in his painting.
Yeah, and a lot of people associate this with like madness and instability.
But there is method to this madness.
There is method. When you break this down, there is a huge amount of physics to quantify behind it. Physics that you and me don't understand. But basically, there was a landmark study by Aragon and his respective scientists alongside him. It was published in the Journal of Mathematical Imaging and Vision. And what this does is it analyzes the luminance fluctuations in his work.
Okay.
So there is a very famous Russian mathematician, forgive me if I mispronounce his name, but Andrei Kolmogorov.
Okay, he was Russian. He was a Russian mathematician, right?
Yes. And what he did is he developed this statistical model for how energy is going to dissipate in fluid.
Okay.
So you're talking about fluid dynamics here, how energy is transferring from these big currents, these big turbulent eddies, to smaller turbulent eddies, to tiny little ripples.
Okay.
And this is called the turbulent cascade. And just by trying to summarize it like that, it's very obvious that this is complicated math.
Yes, I
It's
do
like,
not understand. Yeah, it sounds very
right,
fancy.
it is notoriously hard. But on studies, it showed that the Starry Nights, right, which was, again, to remind you, painted by Vincent Van Gogh when he was in a state of psychotic agitation.
Hmm.
His painting, when you like mathematically statisticify it, shows that it aligns pretty well with Kolmogorov's probability distributions.
Wow. So you're
Yeah.
telling me while he was in an asylum, theoretically hallucinating, his brain was processing visual data to the precision of complicated physics and fluid dynamics.
Exactly. So when you compare his paintings to the ones he made when he was in a rather stable state, or considered to be in a rather stable state,
Like a calmer
yeah,
state of
like
mind?
in Self Portrait with a Pipe, which is one of his other famous paintings, you see that the math sort of vanishes.
Doesn't math.
Yeah, the math doesn't math. It's like a terrifying but like a very magnificent trade-off, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, when your brain is uninhibited by sanity or by sedation, you're able to process, you're able to perceive this raw fluid dynamics that exists in nature as it is.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it redefines the altered sense and the altered state as we think of it.
Yeah, because it was almost superpowered.
Yeah, because you remove the biological limitations that you have, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Moving ahead, let's talk about something related to his diet.
Yes. So now there are a lot of accounts of Vincent van Gogh being, like you said, diet, environment, and heavy metals in his diet and environment.
I think there are documents of him having a pika behavior.
Yes, a pika behavior. Now tell me what exactly pika is.
Pika behavior is when you have a tendency of, or like an addiction towards eating materials that don't have nutritional value, and they don't also have food, like taste properties of food. So you're just addicted to eating random materials. Like in Vincent Van Gogh's case, I think he was addicted to.
There are a lot of, in his letters and everything. Of course, as a painter, you expect a certain amount of lead exposure that he might have gone through at that time. But there are a lot of people who chatter about him actually eating the lead paint, or developing some sort of, like you said, maybe a state of addiction, or maybe a state of mild consumption rather, where he's intaking it. And the pika is often driven by like iron or zinc deficiencies. So what this does is it traps you in like this toxic loop, right? And then we have
But the thing about consuming lead is that it could lead to lead poisoning,
of course,
which is very toxic.
And the funny thing is, a lot of these symptoms of lead poisoning actually compounds the digitalis effect, because the lead further goes, it damages the retina and the optic nerve. So you have the enzyme inhibition from the meds, plus this heavy metal toxicity that's backing it up. And it's like, it just compounds to this state of altered sensorium.
That's right. Okay.
Then we also have one of our last exhibits, right, which is the Hugh-Jones connection.
Okay, tell me about it, Shreya.
Right. So absinthe has been very much the spirit of choice in that time period.
So it's an alcohol that maybe he was consuming?
Yes, it is documented that he would partake in the consumption of absinthe more often than not. And absinthe does contain thujone, which is a terpene from wormwood.
Isn't it a GABA receptor antagonist?
Yes, it is a GABA.
And GABA is the inhibitory neurotransmitter in your brain.
Yeah. So in like very layman words, what it's doing is it's calming things down, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But thujone is going to block it. So what it's going to do is
hyperactivated state of things.
Yeah. The neurons are going to start firing uncontrollably, in a sense.
And a lot of cases, this itself leads to states like epilepsy and when your neurons are firing way too much. And thujone also can lead to acute intermittent porphyria, right?
Yes.
Which is...
There's a strong consensus now that he might have had some symptoms and some signs of acute intermittent porphyria.
Porphyria is basically when there's a derangement in your heme synthesis for a variety of reasons. Multiple enzymes of that pathway could be affected, or what's it called?
Yeah, it's a genetic metabolic defect at the end of the day, right? So it said that, like you said, thujone and fasting certain chemicals like that is going to trigger these kind of symptoms. So it's like
Okay.
the alcohol wasn't just doing what alcohol does,
Alcohol
but its
does, but
chemical composition is actually,
it was causing a lot more harm than what was
yes.
seen on the surface.
All right, now coming to one of the most rather misunderstood parts of his life, we all know that there was an infamous incident which drove Vincent Van Gogh to cut off one of his ears, right? And when you go online, when you look up anything, there's a lot of argument, a lot of opinions about what might have caused this. But there are a lot of sustainable research done actually, which leads us to different directions of what could be the possibility which drove him to this.
That's right. And one of the most compelling arguments is published in JAMA by Arenberg et al.,
Yeah.
which suggests that this wasn't psychiatric, it was actually Meniere's disease. Now, what Meniere's disease, it's actually caused by excess endolymph in your inner ear. And it causes one, violent vertigo, and two, intense tinnitus. Vertigo is when you feel the room spinning really, really fast. And tinnitus is where you feel this constant, shrill sound at the back of your head, like continuously. And Meniere's disease is manifested in attacks. So that's what this paper says. But
Yeah.
there's also alternative suggestions.
Yeah, there are a lot of, like you said, alternative suggestions which favor vestibular migraines or even temporal lobe epilepsy at that point. And of course, as we know, his absinthe abuse and malnutrition and all of that would have exaggerated any of these symptomatic effects that could be caused by these underlying problems that we're right now debating about, right?
True, true.
Yeah, so, despite the lead, the thujone, the, Meniere's, the enzyme inhibition, he painted sunflowers.
He painted a lot more than just sunflowers. He
Yeah.
painted some of the most iconic art pieces of today.
And he had one of the most iconic lives of today.
Correct.
Yeah,
He's one of the his work deserves the recognition they get today.
it does.
I just wish he knew what their worth
Yes,
is.
there is a lot to appreciate and a lot to give gratitude for and to hold respect towards biological.
shaped
Yeah,
art. He shaped the
he
way
did.
art
He's
moved
one of the
forward.
pioneers of art history, right? And biological dissection aside, there is always so much to appreciate in just the act of putting that forward, putting that paintbrush to canvas, no matter what drove it internally.
Yeah, and to express how you see the world. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
So that's a wrap. Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah.
I hope that was as engaging and interesting to you as it was for us.
And I hope this inspires everybody, including me, actually to
Paint.
go for a paint. That's it. Yeah, that was it. Paint.
Paint.
All right. So get that Camlin 12 acrylic set and then start, I guess. Okay.
See you guys in the next one. Bye bye.